Hello and welcome to the Christmas edition, edition 28 of Elcom's video interface program. With apologies for not having been around for the last few months, but we've been a little busy integrating Data Supplies Limited and Portable Computers into the Elcom UK group of companies. One of the things we've been doing during the summer months is having conferences for all our staff members. We now have over 500 people in the UK. Since it's Christmas, we're going to show you a few of the silly team building exercises that they've been doing. Things like this.
One. Get your head down. Push your head. Quiet.
And like this. And like this. Well, as you can see, our staff have been having quite a lot of fun during those summer months. But let's talk about Christmas 1997, where we are now. It's been 2 years since we last spoke with Mike Lunch, the General Manager of the PC division of IBM in the UK, and he's back in this programme today. Also, our IBM Product Manager, Keith Inwood, is here as well to join in that conversation. Victoria's here, of course, with Multimedia Futures, and to finish it off, Guy is going to give us his view of 1998, a year that's of course going to see the launch of a new version of Windows. But first, that interview with Mike Lunch, Keith Inwood, and our Technical Director, Steve Smith.
With us today at Video Interface are Mike Lunch, head of IBM's PC business in the British Isles, and Keith Inwood, Elcom's IBM Business Unit Manager. Hello, Mike.
Steve.
Hello, Keith.
Hi, Steve.
Mike, 2 years into the IBM trail, has it been an interesting 2 years?
Well, it seems a long time and a short time. Looking back, it seems incredible now that 2 years ago the main challenges were getting hold of product when one wanted it and reliably, and also quality. That was a major focus. It's been a long time since those have been the problems. We've been able to sort out the logistics processes, and quality is no longer an issue. So that's a big change in the 2 years. But
well, what are the issues today then that have changed?
I would say that the challenges now really are making a proper re-entry into the Intel-based server market. Mm-hmm. That marketplace is growing at great speed, and Compaq have a very large share of it, and IBM's determined to get its share of it now.
Right. An industry source, shall we say, tells me that you've been pushing for that for quite some time.
I think actually the customers have been pushing for it very hard. The UK market has got a very strong rack orientation in the server market, and we haven't had a rack mounted product until just the last 6 weeks, and we're now we're seeing tremendous interest in our new announcement. I'm sure we'll talk about that in a few minutes, but there's a big change inside IBM regarding the way the company is looking at the Intel-based server market. We've historically regarded PC servers as just part of the PC business. Now we've launched a brand new range of servers, which is bringing into the enterprise server market an Intel-based offering. In fact, we've actually reorganized ourselves, so we're just forming a joint sales force which is going to sell AS400, RS6000 and Intel-based servers. and bringing that really into the enterprise server culture.
An interesting development. Keith, you effectively are an Elcom employee and providing the main interface between Mike and his troops at IBM and Elcom clients. What's been current and in demand from your eyes?
One of the things that we've had, historically we've had a lot of interest in is the ThinkPad range. One of the things that we've actually seen a change in is the fact of previously we used to have the sort of the high-end ThinkPad which had got all the latest processors, etc. Those processors have now come down into some of the, what we would have classed the mid-range machines. So we've seen a huge growth now with people not necessarily wanting to go for the higher spec machines, but taking the sort of the mid-range machines. However, the new ThinkPad 770 has now brought out a huge interest for the what I would call the heat seekers, those that want the latest technology. And in fact, every machine we can get hold of will go straight out of the door. I think it's indicative of probably full circle in the ThinkPad market, where it started off people in the high end. It's gone down a bit, now it's going back up to the high end again.
Right. The 770 is obviously enjoying some success, but I believe that the 560, Mike,
Yes.
Has been a bit of a star over at Comdex again.
Well, we just had Comdex last week, and the 770 got huge awards for most innovative product of the year and so on. And those are the awards that the 560 got last year. But this year, for the first time ever, the same product has got awards for a second year running.
Would that imply that there was no new models out this year, or is that the 560 getting stronger?
I think the 560 is not just one product, it's a range of products, and the latest 560 that's just been announced has got this incredible 233 megahertz Pentium processor. It's got a 1024 768 screen, it's got a 5 gigabyte hard file. So we've kept the product up to the latest rate and pace, but it's the extreme lightweight and thinness of the product that has got huge market attention, and frankly we're selling every one that we can make. Right,
and also the quality issue is on everybody's lips really, because a desktop fails about half as often as a laptop, and I believe this is where the 560 is really scored.
Well, there's been a huge emphasis on it, particularly this year. The Gartner Group have brought to the attention of our corporate customers the fact that notebook PCs have always been regarded as more likely to fail than desktops, as you say. But during this year, several of the major tier 1 vendors have had problems with quality. We ourselves have put an enormous amount of attention into making sure that the quality is very good. And in fact, the latest models are delivering the same sort of failure rate or better than desktop PCs. And the latest Gartner report, in fact, is highlighting the fact that IBM's the only notebook manufacturer that actually hasn't had major quality problems in the notebook area, and it's an area we're very proud of.
Quite an accolade. Keith, what's the supply situation, particularly for Elcom clients, on these key ranges?
The supply situation we have at the moment is we hold stock of all the major ranges of the ThinkPads, from the 310 up to the 770. 770's only recently started shipping, but we do have stock, and we've got other orders on the backlog with IBM for the next 2 to 3 months. The most popular machine, apart from the 560 that Mike was talking about, is the 380. That's a very good functional machine. And again, every box that we've got in is going out of the door on a regular basis.
The reason for the success of the 380 is that it was the first machine to provide a 3-spindle solution. So you could get a floppy disk drive and a hard disk and a CD-ROM in the same box. And there's been a lot of interest in that, rather than swapping the bits in and out.
Okay. We've touched on the Netfinity 700. That's an area I do want to explore, because I think IBM do have a mountain to climb, and I think they'd be the first to admit it. How do you see that breaking in or cracking the dominance by certain other brands in the server arena?
Well, first of all, it's the design point of that is the same design point as the AS400 and RS6000. IBM is the biggest server manufacturer in the world, and we have by far the biggest market share of servers. And that enterprise expertise that we've got in mission critical application support, we're bringing that into the Intel space. It means that the new Netfinity 7000 for example, the racking, it's a genuine 19-inch standard rack. You could take one of our machines and put it into a telecom rack or an air conditioning rack or any rack that happens to be around. That's not true of our competitors. If you wanted to service the machine, you can slide it out on rails while it's still connected, and you can actually work on the machine when it's still running in the rack. That's not true of our competitors. But that is true of traditional high-end enterprise servers. That's what you get when you get an AS400 or RS6000.
That's the research and development investments
Absolutely.
Picking up.
Absolutely.
Keith, what are Elcom doing to take advantage of that product range?
Well, what we're doing, Steve, is we've actually taken one of the tools that comes with the Netfinity 7000, which is the capacity management tool, together with the Netfinity Manager. We've actually given that to our consultancy group to actually start to do some work within our customer sites to actually start helping the customers analysing their network, analysing their server and environment. The capacity management tool will show hotspots where you've got sort of memory shortage, storage difficulties, or even just network traffic.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Keith, but this is a development really of the IBM's mainframe and AS400 performance
The
tools.
AS400
Am I right?
performance
Yes, it
tool,
is.
I believe,
It
Mike,
is.
isn't it? Yeah.
The capacity management tools developed for AS400 have done exactly those things for some time. But we believe that bringing that into the Intel server space is part of what I was talking about, bringing enterprise culture into the Intel space. It does mean that we feel we can look over the shoulder of the user to actually see what's happening on the desktop and the server remotely. So the capability to upgrade the BIOS, the capability to remotely manage the software stack, the capability to check on the actual capacity of the machines, to set alarm signals, for example, if the disk capacity is running out or the machine's memory bound or processor bound. Maybe we can look for the day when you'll be sending your people out proactively to upgrade a disk rather than waiting to react to those panic telephone calls, my machine's suddenly full. Those kind of technologies that are coming through now really do offer a great opportunity to bring down the true cost of ownership.
Yeah, I think every IT manager and director in the land has been looking for the single console management of the PC network specifically, but now the whole integrated environment. And it's been a bit of a pipe dream, because normally that single console has been about 10 different consoles, and sometimes you needed to put your sand shoes on to actually get to the machine first.
No need for that now. I mean, with the tools that are available, such as the Netfinity Manager, it can even be done across the web.
Yeah.
And you can integrate all these things together with products like Tivoli so that you can control a heterogeneous environment remotely. Single console management, as you're right on the case there. There's also the whole subject of looking at using the technology that's built into today's hardware. Very few customers are actually using the capability that's there. For example, you could take any of today's generation of IBM desktop PCs with nothing on it, a completely empty machine, plug it in on the other side of the world into a WAN or a LAN, and it will wake up and say, here I am, what do you want to do with me today? And you can fill it with the appropriate software stack. You could put on the access passwords, TCP IP addresses, all those things you could do remotely, so the user would arrive the next day and the machine would be installed with his set. Now, that's a big jump from where most people are today, but the capabilities in today's equipment.
Sure. I obviously this leads me nicely on to another subject, which is Elcom have recently joined the IBM Service Partner Program. This is really a direction from Lou Gerstner at the top of IBM. What does that actually herald? Is it a sea change in IBM's thinking, or is it a natural development?
It's a recognition that IBM can deliver so much of the services required, but IBM together with the business partners can do so much more. IBM's got some skills and expertise which it's happy to pass on to the business partners so that they can raise their own capability and do some of those offerings themselves. And in some cases it would be IBM's own offering remarketed. So we believe that in partnership we can do a far better job than just on our own.
Great. Looking into the crystal ball a bit, obviously IBM have been launching a major corporate advertising campaign on television presently around e-business. Maybe you could spend a few minutes explaining what the message is that's coming across there from IBM.
The whole impact of the internet and intranet technology is going to change the face of corporate trading over the next few years. We've seen the impact of the internet in homes. One in four of British homes now are connected to the internet. We've started to see the impact in the corporate world, but the technology is now capable of producing much greater breakdowns of traditional barriers. We IBM are at the forefront of that. We've got enormous expertise and experience in electronic trading. Of course, the huge worldwide IBM backbone of IBM Global Network is available for that, and we're driving very hard to help our customers to understand how they can use electronic trading as a way to cut expense and get to new customers.
Electronic commerce is very dear to our hearts as well.
Yes, I know.
Overall, what's the strategic direction of IBM for the coming year?
Well, I mean, e-trading and e-business is just one aspect of network computing. You've heard Lou Gerstner talk about network computing, and it's really happening now. We're seeing the network computer, the NC, is starting to have impact. We've got pilots all over the place, most of which are showing good results. And we see that direction moving very much into 1998. We see the e-trading, as I just mentioned, the use of remote manageability to bring down costs of ownership, the use of NT-oriented enterprise servers, but with the Intel platform, we see that as being very significant in 98.
Good. Keith, any final requests of Mr. Lunch whilst we have him here?
All I would say is keep up the good work that's going on with the marketing that IBM's doing, because it makes my job an awful lot easier.
Mike, Keith, thank you very much.
Thanks,
Steve.
Welcome to Multimedia Futures for December 1997. Teledesic was celebrating this week after being awarded a full chunk of the radio spectrum, crucial for its $9 billion satellite-based, high-speed internet access service. Teledesic was founded by cellular pioneer Craig McCaw and Microsoft's Bill Gates. They plan to ring the globe with 288 satellites and provide broadband, two-way internet access to anyone, anywhere on the planet. All this week, World Radio Conference in Geneva, they were awarded a crucial fifth of the bandwidth they say they need to make the service work. According to a new report from market analysts Forrester Research, the emerging multimedia storage medium, digital video disc, will struggle in the video and music industries, but will be a major success for the PC industry. Forrester predicts there will be an installed base of 53 million DVD-equipped PCs by 2002. But over the same period, they expect only 5.2% of US households to own a DVD video player. Only 2% will have a DVD audio player. However, the report maintains DVD will replace VHS tape, CDs and CD-ROM in the long term, but will be a flop in the video market for the first 3 to 5 years. Forrester says that as a result, DVD devices will help push PCs as an alternative consumer entertainment medium. Staying with DVD for a moment, an industry standard for DVD audio could be established by as early as next spring. Last month, the DVD Audio Working Group presented a preliminary draft to the recording industry representatives, and a final draft is expected by the end of this month. The music industry has been fighting to ensure that final versions of DVD audio will be compatible with existing compact disc technology. The recording industry also wants any extra DVD capacity to be used to include additional features such as text, graphics, video and interactivity. The current lack of a DVD standard, as well as the time needed for manufacturer and product rollout, means that DVD audio players aren't expected to reach the market until late next year or even early 1999. A recently released research report, Interactive Entertainment 1998, says the video games market is to enjoy a period of explosive growth between now and the millennium. Driven by growing consumer spending, increasing PC penetration rates and web access, the market for interactive entertainment will reach $11.6 billion in 2001, a 113% increase over this year's figure. For most of us, Hewlett-Packard means printers, toner cartridges and so on. But with a new range of consumer-orientated digital devices such as cameras and photo editing kit, HP wants to take on Kodak directly in this market. HP is to spend $75 million to create a new consumer brand for these and other products, centred around a concept it calls expanding possibilities. HP is still smarting from Kodak CEO George Fisher's quip that it has no chance because while everyone knows what a Kodak moment is, no one's ever heard of an HP moment. HP also have some fairly off-the-wall plans. Ever had that late-night craving for a new ink cartridge? Well, you'll soon be able to get one from your handy inkjet vending machine. HP is about to install them in US supermarkets and college campuses. Finally, two short items. Media mogul Rupert Murdoch is a man feared throughout the industry, a person with such power that even governments fear his disapproval. But there is one man who frightens even him, Microsoft boss Bill Gates. Murdoch told reporters after the annual shareholders meeting of British Sky Broadcasting, everyone in the communications industry is paranoid of Microsoft, including me. And to end with, Japanese company Technos, working with the Himeji Institute of Technology, have developed goggles fitted with a tiny electrode that monitors the wearer's beta brainwave activity. By concentrating on a screen displaying a range of icons and thinking, "Don't!" loudly in the style of Homer Simpson, the device will change television channels and alter the volume as required. And that's Multimedia Futures for December 1997. At the end of the year, as always, we'd like to thank APT and Computer Wire, both of whom have allowed us to use portions of their material in this section during 1997. Multimedia Futures is now published weekly by Computer Wire plc. Email trevorg@computerwire.co.uk for details of how you can receive all this and more, direct to your desktop every week. Have a great holiday. I'll see you in the next year. Happy Christmas.
Thank you, Victoria. Just before he left the studio, Mike Lunch asked us if there was a way that he could use this video to talk directly to you, our customers. There's one particular concern that he would like to bring to your attention, so unusually, in fact uniquely in Video Interface, we've allowed one of our guests to talk directly to you, our customers. And this is what he had to say.
I am extremely concerned about the implications of year 2000 for our customers, and I'm worried that customers are not necessarily asking the right questions. In the PC environment, there's a lot of attention right now on whether the PCs are year 2000 compliant. Of course they are. The current generation of PCs, certainly the ones that we're shipping, have been year 2000 compliant for some time. But I don't think that's the real issue. The real issue is not the hardware. It's all problems associated with the application software. If you get right down and deep into the code, you may be using applications that are themselves year 2000 compliant, working on an operating system that is year 2000 compliant, and on PCs that are year 2000 compliant, and still you've got big problems ahead. Let me give you one little example. Many customers have got spreadsheets which are right through their organization where the width of the column associated with the date has been designed exactly to fit the figures 1, 9, and then 2 more digits. When we put in the number 2 for 2000 or something, the width of the column would need to be wider. How many of those spreadsheets are going to come up with error messages just because the column's not wide enough? These implications are very deep, and I'm very concerned that customers are not taking it seriously. If we look at our mainframe and mid-range business, IBM has sent out 2 letters to every customer that's ever had a bill from IBM, bringing to their attention the concerns we have about year 2000. We know the serial numbers of mid-range machines which are definitely not year 2000 compliant. We've sent out letters to customers. We've set up websites, we've set up free phone numbers, and quite honestly, the amount of take-up on it is disappointing. I think there are customers out there who just haven't focused on the issue, and I'm deeply concerned about it.
Well, Mike Lunch, asked us if he could say those few words to you especially. He clearly has very severe concerns over the year 2000. Let's see if Guy Kewney agrees with him. Hello again, Guy.
How are you, Steve?
I'm fine, I'm fine.
What's all this tinsel and stuff? Couldn't you get someone to clear up after the...
Well, this is actually left over from last Christmas, I think. But, either that or the studio crew have been particularly adventurous.
I think it's a year 2000 cock-up myself.
Well, tell us how many cock-ups are going to be in the year 2000, Guy. Do you agree with Mike Lunch?
No, yes, he's understating it, if anything.
Really?
He really is. It isn't just COBOL, and the COBOL problem is bad enough. I gather from my contractor friends that COBOL salaries at the moment are rising at 15% a month. Gosh. And that's not just because they're worth that sort of money as people get more and more panicky, it's because there aren't any. These are all senior people who have moved on from their days as a COBOL programmer. They didn't enjoy writing COBOL. I don't think I ever knew anybody who enjoyed writing COBOL. Some of them have set up their own companies, some of them have retired, some of them are ill. Those who've done rather well, it's like going to the head of Robert McAlpine and saying, we need a brick wall laid. He may still have the skills for all I know, but he's not going to come round and fix your back garden.
Very true.
The problem isn't just in the code. The problem isn't just in the machines. I think Mike is actually being optimistic. Last figures I saw about PCs suggest something like 20% of the things being sold in the shops today will fall over at midnight at the end of January 1999.
Now, hang on, let's just clarify that. 20% of the PCs still being sold
Still being
today?
sold today, yes.
Gosh.
A lot of them will work okay on the 1st of January once they've been reset. But at something like 20%, 1 in 5 of the PCs being sold today, if you put them to 31st of January, wait for the midnight to come past, they will crash.
Really?
Yes. Now that's a recent, that's come out in the last month.
Right.
And then the problem, I think we discussed this once before, the problem is not the programs, although that's a big enough problem, the problem is the data. People get data from each other. If I run a Y2K OK machine, and you don't, and you send me a whole bunch of information 31st of December, fine. Next day it comes through, a whole bunch of what appear to be good dates. It'll come into my warehouse, it'll have the wrong date on it, and my warehouse will chuck it all out as 100 years old. And it's going to happen. I have a lot of friends who do a lot of serious Y2K consultancy. One of them's come up with a problem, a scam, if you like, which illustrates the problem brilliantly. His plan is to go into Y2K consultancy with a new company which will offer to solve your problems with an upfront payment of £500,000, £500,000 every 6 months on results. So if you don't get good results every 6 months, you don't pay him. And he says it's very simple. He will accept the £500,000 from all his customers, and he will never do another stroke of work. Because if they haven't started on their Y2K problem at this stage, it is too late.
Really?
And by the time they come round to wanting to sue him for not having done any work, they won't be around to sue. He says if he can line up 20 companies at that base, he can walk away with 10 million quid, and there's not the slightest risk of the people. They're not going to survive. If you haven't started on it now, you're in real trouble. Mike is not exaggerating.
Okay.
And if anything, he's understating it.
Right, okay. Important words to start 98 with. Thank you for that, Guy. Okay, let's change subjects. Intel and Alpha, your views, please.
Yes, I would like to have had another week, actually, because I've now been given a phone call. Digital Equipment sold off its rights to the Alpha chip and the Hudson factory where they make it to Intel in settlement of their lawsuit. Now, it seems fairly clear to me that this won't go through on the nod. The Federal Trade Commission is going to take a very close look at this. Intel has very, very incautiously been making statements like, yes, well, we can buy the Alpha plant and close it down, or words to that effect, or implications behind what they've been saying that could be interpreted that way. And the Federal Trade Commission is not going to be happy about seeing Intel's major competitor after the PowerPC disappear from the market. Intel is coming out with a chip called Merced in 1999, which, if it works correctly and ships beautifully, will be very powerful and quite powerful enough to see them into the next millennium, or the next 5 years of the millennium.
Right.
But there is no reason to assume that that chip will ship on time and work perfectly on first. These things don't happen. It's a very, very complex chip. And it looks to me as if the gap between what we have now on the market and what we'll have when Merced ships is going to be one which Alpha will fill quite nicely. Now, I don't think that's why Intel bought Alpha. In fact, I almost think Intel doesn't know it bought Alpha. I think it just said, okay, here's a bunch of money to sort the lawsuit out, and that gives us the chance to move ahead. Oh heavens, we've bought the Hudson plant. Now, Intel can use the Hudson plant very well. It's got, in many ways, a lot of advanced features in it which Intel would really very much like to have. However, if you're running NT, and increasingly people are, and you want a really fast NT machine, what people do today is to buy Alpha. The reason not everybody does that is that it's not possible to run Intel software on the Alpha platform. Or so we thought. The DEC program, FX Pling 3.2, is now actually shipping. And what it does is to take an Intel program and run it on the Alpha. And if you have a 500 megahertz Alpha, it will run at roughly the speed of a 200 megahertz Pentium Pro, which is equivalent. Now, on an Alpha, you would expect it to run 2 or 3 times faster than that. What FX Pling 32 can also do is take Alpha code and reverse engineer it automatically to produce, take Intel code and reverse it to produce Alpha code. And it does that very quickly. I watched a CAD program being converted to Alpha in about a minute and a half. The application, which ran on Intel, taking about a minute and 20 seconds to run, ran on the Alpha and the Intel about the same speed. It took 12 seconds when it had been optimized for Alpha, which is beautiful because it means you can actually get Intel code and compile it without the source. It means you, as a purchaser of the Intel end code, the object code, shrink wrap, plug it in, turn that into Alpha code, run it, it'll run that much faster. That's very much faster.
Right, and this is all perfectly legal? And
you own the code, there's no reason that you can't run it. I can't see Intel complaining. In fact, I wouldn't be at all surprised if somewhere inside Intel there is someone saying, hang on, we don't want to close this down. This could get us into the big workstation market, because Intel doesn't have the big workstation market sorted out. Alpha does.
Okay. You mentioned NT. Microsoft have promised us, or pretty much promised us, a new version of NT, and of course Windows 98 for next year. Is all this going to happen on time and on schedule?
You know, the launch of Windows 98 on schedule might even happen if you assume that on schedule means around July. I would be very surprised to see it much before that. And the reason for that is that Windows 98 is not the big cataclysmic transformation and transfer of technology from Windows 3 to Windows 95. It's a step up. There are a couple of things which we need and want. We want USB support, it'll be in there. There'll be larger scale file system support, a few other things like that, but it's not a major radical change, it's just an upgrade. So there should be no reason why that shouldn't be out in time to be called Windows 98. Outside Winnersh and Redmond, I honestly don't know anybody who expects NT version 5 next year. I really don't. I saw an advertisement for NT staff by someone recently. I was in a pub with my NT drinking companions, and he produced this thing saying NT people wanted to do the conversion to NT5 in 1998, and these guys all sitting around with their pints absolutely rolled on the floor laughing. The idea of somebody having to actually do any work on NT5 in 1998 struck them as the funniest joke they'd heard all year. I don't see any reason to assume it would happen. I can't see why it would happen. They've only just launched the Beta 1. I don't expect it to work. It's a major change.
Yes. Okay. Web security is something that you said to ask you about during this.
I did, didn't I?
During this chat, so I'm asking.
The thing about cryptography, as you possibly know or possibly don't know, is that an ordinary computer can do it, but it's not very good at it. Now, normally you talk about this in the context of hacking. You say, well, of course, if you use a proper RSA algorithm and 128-bit key, it would take 4 times longer than the known life of the universe to solve it. And that's true on a standard computer. What is perhaps less well known is that if you built a special purpose crypto cracker, and there are reasons to believe that various government departments in various parts of the world have done so, you could probably get a very heavily encrypted piece of software and crack it within weeks, perhaps even days. What is not perhaps obvious, but if you think about it, is obvious, should be obvious, is that the opposite works as well. If you're doing e-commerce and somebody comes in and does a transaction, there are 6 encryption products to do in each transaction. You have to talk about yourself versus the credit card, you have to talk about yourself versus the customer, and the customer versus the credit card. So these 6 things, send, receive, have to be done. And they're big, complicated, special purpose cryptographic operations. Now we saw our first taste of just how good standard web servers are at this when the last Black Monday, as it happened, the market didn't collapse in Wall Street as fast as people thought it would, and the reason it didn't was that an awful lot of private buyers were able to get in and buy bargain prices. Now normally the market would go into meltdown and the brokers would come in a month later and buy everything cheap and make a lot of money. What happened here is that private buyers came in and boosted the market, but an awful lot of them couldn't buy shares, and the reason they couldn't was that the servers weren't able to process the online share requests in time, and the reason they couldn't is they were big enough to handle the number of users, but not to handle the crypto. Now, I discovered all this by talking to an old friend of mine called Alex van Sommeron, who we used to know as Mad Alex. He's now set up a company called Encipher, based in Cambridge, which is spelled N-C-I-P-H-E-R, which you can find as encipher.com. And he's basically selling a little $3,000 box, which fits in a 5¼ inch disk slot, bay, and will increase your server's ability to do encryption by a factor of 50.
Gosh.
And if you want more, you put another one in. It scales linearly. And it's just a special purpose bunch of gear, which his brother happens to be a crypto genius, has been since he was a kid. And they're selling this, and suddenly the city loves them, and Wall Street loves them, and the West Coast loves them, and they're setting up. And it's a sufficiently new product that I was really quite excited about it, so I thought I'd mention it. But it fits in any SCSI bus. Right.
Okay, so something to watch there. Okay, final main subject perhaps, and that's the Rockwell business. I watch you, or watch your words regularly on Kewney's World.
Oh, my website,
yes. Yes, your website, and we'll remind me to give you a little plug for that at the end, okay? Because I think everybody should dial that up every week. But you said one of your headlines was severe lack of marbles at Rockwell.
Marble shortage, indeed.
Marble shortage, that was it.
I don't often find myself wanting to, I don't want to say make fun of, but pillory someone for completely failing to justify something. If there's an explanation, well, let's tell you the story. Rockwell makes modem chips, which it calls K56 Flex. And they work on the basis that the exchange can send you a digital signal, which they will decode in this chipset, and then they will send back an analog signal. So you get 56 kilobits down, and you can get about 33 back, which is a lot faster than the standard 28 kilobit. Sure. And they've sold this chipset to a lot of people, including Hayes and Bay Networks. US Robotics makes a similar thing, indistinguishable in terms of the way the technology works. It has a digital signal processor which analyzes the noises coming down the line and sends new ones up, 56 kilobits. That's the way the technology works. Rockwell's chipset apparently comes with a license agreement which says that if you use the chipset, you mustn't make a better modem than everybody else's. Bay Networks apparently does a modem with the X2 chipset in from US Robotics, which is now 3Com. Rockwell has sued Bay Networks for producing a better modem than the other Rockwell licensees. They say their license insists that there is a level playing field, that nobody may produce a better modem than anybody else if they use this license. Now, I am as sure as I can be that if they actually enforced this in any American court, it would come under the restraint of trade laws. It would be thrown straight out. I can't see them doing it. So I rang them up and I said, look, it seems to me that what you're doing here is to sue somebody for making an improved modem. And they said yes, because we don't approve of people making a better modem than our other customers. And I said, why? What is the point of stopping people from making a better product? Well, we can't explain that. Well, can you tell me off the record? No, I'm afraid I can't. I spoke to about 4 people inside Rockwell, all of whom said, you know, Guy, if you promise not to say who I am, I will tell you that I honestly can't understand what we're doing here. So I've written it up as marble loss. They really have lost their marbles. I don't know anybody who can explain why they're doing it, nor does it make any sense. And it's not even as if Bay Networks is a particularly big supplier of modems.
No. And here they are suing one of their own customers.
Suing one of their own customers for making a better product, yes.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Tell us about ZDNet and where these good people can come and see Guy Kewney's World, or Kewney's World and Guy Kewney's Diary.
Well, we're doing quite well. We think we're doing quite well with our UK site. The easy way to get it is zdnet.co.uk, but it's just as easy for some people to go to zdnet.com/UK. And then if you put news on the end of that, you'll find Kewney's World on that, and you'll also find my diary at the weekend. The news is an attempt to keep up with things, and we're going to expand that. The plan was to have a full sort of news pavilion there where we'd mail people out with what the news was each week, and they'd come into the site and read about it. That's been slightly held up by the need to get Microsoft's IE4 channels going, which we think we've actually got.
Yes, I must say I'm a regular visitor to the news pages, and you watch them build up with item after item during the day as news is obviously coming in. It's interesting because you really do get it fresh.
The team is busy.
Yeah. Okay, Guy, again, it's been a fascinating year, and
It's
we
been
hope
a
to
nice
see you
year.
again next year.
And to get the date right next year as well.
Yes, absolutely right. Thanks very
Nice
much
to
for
see you.
joining us. And that is Elcom's Video Interface Edition 28. Regarding the year 2000, if you want to contact us, we have set up a year 2000 team liaising closely with IBM, and we'll be glad to help you out with anything that we can do. That's it from Guy, from Mike Bunch, from Steve Smith, Keith Inwood, Victoria and myself for this year. Have a Merry Christmas. Bye for now.